take a look at the time you have available to you. You know, everyone that has a 9-to-5 job for the most part has a lunch hour. So if you aspire to be a writer, could you take 30 minutes of that lunch hour to start writing your book? Just take out your phone and start writing that novel that you want to get started on your phone. So start thinking about, making effective use of your time. Trust me, every little bit, baby steps out, baby steps out.
Hello, and welcome to Project Candor. I'm your host, Jeanne Anderson, and here we explore the surprising stories behind ordinary people. Today, I want to welcome our guest, Peter Gunn. Peter is a U.S. Air Force veteran who served 20 years, an avid bodybuilder, and the lead guitarist for the band the Angellics. He's also a writer devoted to bringing epic poetry and classical storytelling into the modern age. Inspired by his daughter and by what he saw as a missing feminine perspective in traditional hero stories, Peter began writing the Amazon series. He also developed a storytelling format called Linked-Lyrical-Poetry, or LLP, designed to make epic poetry more accessible to modern readers. More recently, Peter expanded into graphic novels with Sigma Squad, a mythological universe influenced by ancient text and cosmic storytelling. Peter, it's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. Are you ready? We're going to start with some questions, and then toward the end of the call, we'll transition into our two truths and a lie. But we want to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay. So, Peter, when I look at your work, you're not just writing poems or stories, you're building entire mythological universes. When you begin something like Sigma Squad or the Amazon, what usually comes first? Is it the characters, the mythology, or the message behind the world you're building?
Well, oddly enough, and it's happened my entire life, is the end of the story comes first, and I actually wind up writing the story backwards, as odd as that sounds. So I know the end game, what I have a vision in my mind, and then I need to write the story backwards, as odd as that sounds, and go all the way to the beginning. And how did it start? That's the way I start developing my stories.
Wow, that's a fantastic concept. Do a lot of people write backwards, or do you know?
I've never met anyone that writes backwards like me. No, I am a bit different. I admit, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Is it just that you know the ending, how you want it to turn out, and then you have to fill in between, or you actually have the whole vision, but it's easier to start with the end?
Well, those brainstorming webs, they'll have writers. You have a core concept in the middle, and you branch out. You have other ideas that are linked to it. Mine's more like a massive world. So I'll have, that it will go expand way past the page. So it'll have other stories over here, and then I'll try to bring some of them into it together. So I'll write several stories in my head just to make one.
Okay. All right. Very interesting, because I can't even imagine how you keep it all straight, but I'm sure. Do you have a room with a big giant map on it and all your sticky notes or whatever that you've got?
It's in here, but I do have Google Notes too. So I use Google Notes as well. Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I did get a sneak preview at your new Sigma Squad. So it's like, yeah, that's quite something to keep in your head.
Yeah.
Your stories draw inspiration from ancient texts, and you just mentioned that, and mythology, but you're presenting them in a modern format, a very modern format. So what is about these ancient ideas that still feels powerful enough to build new stories around today?
The hero's journey, it never grows old. It just continues. The people change, okay, but it still keeps going. And it's one of those things where not only does it never end, but it keeps cycling throughout your life. So you could, if you think back to your life, you lived to, say about 50, okay? And you think back, you could see complete circles in your life, maybe, several times go around, several times in your life where you reinvented yourself more than once. And that's common. And it keeps going. The core concept, the thing that keeps repeating is the hero's journey. You might not see yourself as a hero, but you are in your own story.
Oh, okay. I like that. I want to be a hero somewhere. So, do you think that if you ever read a book where you're just like, I'm relating to this protagonist, and that's me, and that's also like a parallel hero's journey? You see yourself in someone else's writing.
Well, any author that it brings people and experience with them into their story. So people they've worked with, people they know, they've interacted with in their past, whether they like it or not. You have to admit they're going to bring in them into their stories. There are a lot of people that I've worked with in my 20 years of the U.S. Air Force that I'll bring some core concepts from those people into the characters in the stories. Let's say like Mr. Robbins from the Amazons. He was an expert at trades and skills and mechanics and things like that. And I've worked a lot of people that this took to anything mechanical like a frog takes to water, and it's came natural to them. And I've worked with a lot of people like that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so you make them kind of build them as a superhuman person. I like that.
Well, everyone has something to contribute to the team,
Mhm.
and a lot of times what I'll do is I'll bring in people that into the team, into with the protagonist to take along, but then people quick are quick to think, well, what is he here? What's his purpose? And it won't be till much later in the story then you'll see, oh, now I see why he's
Now I
here,
get it.
and we see that in life every day. At least in the military, there were people that just transferred in. You're brand new to the squadron, to the team, and then you can't help but wonder. Even years go by, like why is he here? What is his thing? But eventually you're like, oh, now I get it. Now I see his value. Everyone has value. No one is without value.
Yeah, that's a great concept. That's a great way to look at people too. I guess you're easy to get along with and work.
Well, everybody has redeeming factors. Just because they're not stellar at the core concept of the job that you may be doing, they might excel in other areas. So give them a
Right.
chance to excel in other areas. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So when your daughter was born, you began noticing that the feminine perspective was often missing from epic storytelling. So what did you feel traditional literature was overlooking? And how did the realization shape the Amazon series? Amazons, I keep saying Amazon. Amazon series.
Well, everybody wants to enroll their children to the things they love to see if they'll take to it. And when I had my daughter, I've always loved epic poetry. So Dante's Inferno, Beowulf, the Odyssey. And I started, buying the paperback copies for her. Went to the library, the bookstore, but I can't help but wonder, like, why would a young girl want to read these? Where are the
Yeah.
heroines, the females? Okay, I mean, they mentioned Helen of Troy a little bit in the Odyssey, but not much. They value her for her beauty. A lot of times the feminine is they depicted as a demon, like in Beowulf. She was a demon or a dragon. What are we? How are we viewing our daughters, our mothers, or sisters like that? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's wrong. So that's why I decided to write the Amazons in the epic poetry genre, because it's about time to incorporate the feminine into it. But not only just the feminine, but then to bring the masculine in as well, and then show there's a synergy that goes on when the two are hand in hand in a team.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I think you're right because, yeah, all the superheroes, the comic books and stuff. When I was growing up, they were all men. They had a Wonder Woman. That was the only one, and everybody. It's like everybody's focused on Wonder Woman as being the only true superhero that we saw way back in my day. And yeah, I'm glad that you're doing that. That's a good testament to just caring and loving your daughter and wanting her to have something better. So going on to another question, you created the storytelling format called linked lyrical poetry. For listeners hearing that for the first time, what exactly is LLP and how does it change the way a story unfolds compared to traditional writing?
Well, when I was developing LLP, and looking at all the epic genre of poetry, and I it made me wonder, like, okay, why is it falling out of favor? Why aren't people buying it up like they used to? It's still bought, but not like it used to be. And what's changing? And the thing is language is changing. Okay, so how many times do you have to have things like Shakespeare explained to you because they won't understand what he just said? Okay, or you have to sit there and read it a couple of times. So like, okay, now I get it. So it takes so much longer because the language has changed. Well, then poetry therefore has to change as well. How many times have you had young kids like hear a rap song one time and they'll have it memorized front to back? It actually surprises me, you know. And it's because not only because of the rhyme scheme, because they can relate to it. It's brand new. Okay, so that's why I looked at rap and I looked at poetry and I incorporated the two into LLP. Okay, the rhyme is there, the flow is there, but it ebbs and flows a little bit. Whereas rap is more direct, but people, the young kids, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, will still recognize it as something that's new and fresh, and they can understand it. So it mimics rap closely enough to where it's recognizable.
Nice. Well, when you talk about rap, I mean, I remember trying to learn words to the rap, but it goes so fast. So I
Yeah,
have to give
yeah.
them kids nowadays kudos because their brain is working way faster than mine was. So writing for the next generation, you said LLP makes helps make epic poetry more accessible to Gen Z and Gen Alpha, which you just talked about. But what do you think younger readers are looking for today? The traditional literature sometimes they struggles to deliver.
Well, you put down a 4 inch thick book in front of them, and they're going to laugh at you. And that's also why I made the Amazons much smaller. It's 46,000 words. It's short chapters, so they don't have to sit there for over an hour to read a chapter. And I think that's one of the reasons why is because their attention span. So you need to meet them halfway at least, and that's what a lot of authors need to do as well. Because a lot of authors will be very wordy, and they're trying to meet the demands of the publisher. Of course, the publisher says, I want 500,000 words. Well, is that what's best for you and your book? Who are you targeting? Because Gen Alpha, they're not going to pick it up. I guarantee they're not going to want to look at it.
Well, how is this even being addressed in schools? I mean, you're saying, it's harder for them, and so they still are in schools, and they're still going back to your classics, and they're teaching the classics. How would you introduce something like this into a school system?
Well, I mean, there again, in bits and pieces where I think it would be advantageous to bring it into schools because there again, like I said earlier, they're going to recognize it. They're going to like it. They're going to understand the words, and it's not going to be out of date. To Shakespeare, they're going to think, oh my gosh, this is from the
Mm.
1900s. Okay, so they're going to sit there trying to fathom what the words mean, and as soon as it becomes hard for them, they're going to stop. They're going to shut off and not pay attention to the teacher. Every word counts. Every word counts.
Are you doing anything to work this LLP into schools, or that's just not your bag?
I would like to in the future. I need to get it to out more, market it more. Right now, I'm working with veterans with it and having them write it because we're finding it takes so much concentration. So you're with an LLP, you're sitting down for an hour and you just get one paragraph. Okay, a lot of people are
Okay.
willing to do that and to take the time. It took years for me to write the Amazons. Okay, to get it to the point and several rewrites to get it to the point where it's at right now. But what it is helping with the veterans is if they have PTSD, if they have anxiety and stuff like that, it's helping them focus. Because just to write the one paragraph, you have to focus and you have to keep the context in your head or find the rhyming words. So to do it, it makes the symptoms go away from PTSD and anxiety disorders.
Hmm. Now you put a different slant on it. So, can you give an example to the listeners of what you're speaking about, that one paragraph? If you don't have it handy, that's fine. I'd just like to hear it coming from you.
Okay, let me see if I can bring it up here.
Yeah, I think while you're looking for that, I think you said something that was very intriguing is that it helps people with PTSD because they have to focus. And that would be the same as kids with ADHD, I guess, as well, that have a hard time focusing.
Yes, yes, it does. It definitely will. It will help them to focus and to deal with at least for an hour, at least the time that they're writing, with their symptoms.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Because I know they have these fidget spinners all the time, fidget spinners, but I don't find that that's helping anybody with anything. It just keeps them occupied a little bit. But something like this that creates a discipline that they could help focus on, that would be great.
Now, I'll go to the prologue in the book, the very beginning. And
Hmm.
what you're basically doing is you're going to write the paragraph. Okay. So write basically what you want to write. Okay. And then you're going to go back. First off, then is any periods. So breaks the sentence. The you have to have a rhyming word at the end of the sentence, at the beginning of the sentence, as close as possible. Okay, so like we have all seen ladies gently take their beau's hand and understand their place in society. But why do they? So society, why do they allow? Okay, there's a rhyme themselves to be tamed when their heart is being eaten away with desire. Perhaps they have eternal fire, desire fire to break away from what society requires. But then you got to go back and focus on every word and make that paragraph rhyme as much as possible. So you have to look at context. You're going to have a thesaurus and a rhyming dictionary open. Are you going to try to make that paragraph rhyme and flow as much as possible? And there are times when you think you got it, and you go back to it, like, oh, wait a minute, you see another one that will fit in there. So you write up, 3, 4, 5 different versions of the same paragraph. And sometimes when you're doing that, the paragraph or the words start writing the story on its own. It will take a completely new avenue for the story as well.
Oh, I like that. That's very interesting. Any more to read there? I don't want to hear another sentence.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll go through the whole prologue. Okay. We have
Okay.
all seen ladies shapely take their beau's hand and understand their place in society. But why do they allow themselves to be tamed when their heart is being eaten away with desire? Perhaps they have an internal fire to break away from what society requires. But mired very far away was a place where women ruled the land and men exclusively for breeding. Needing no other help from humans, their hidden institutions were excluded from modern times. Aligned on their own path, these Amazons were allowed to cast their own unique civilization. A nation created by the women fated by the gods of old, with bold spirit and inherent strength tenfold from the standard human mold. Told this by an explorer, 'twas 105 years old. Soon to be eroded to his final death, with his final breath he did extol me about his fabled tribe of women who existed in complete obscurity. Their purity of spirit was unbound. Deep in the Amazon they did abound, completely unfound by society.
That was nice. Oh, I like that. That is
It's
lyrical.
funny is the rhyme scheme gets into your head sort of like NLP, neuralistic programming. And I mean, I
Mhm.
had a friend that she read it, she read the book, and then she was going to give me her opinion later on in the day, and she had taken a phone call right after, but she unintentionally kept rhyming it, and then she immediately called me right after that. She's like, "What did you do to me?" I automatically kept rhyming and not intending to. It says it was the LLP. It works like neuralistic programming. Your mind likes it so much it wants to keep doing it.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I got a chance to read some of it, but hearing the way you explain it, now I'm going to go back and read more. And now I think I'm getting what LLP is. I didn't quite get it until you explained it. So I'm thankful that you were here to do that. That's really cool. I liked it. And I like the way that last sentence or couple sentences came out. It just sounded very cool.
Well, you could think of it as a new language if you want to. Think of it as a new
Yeah,
language because it
definitely.
is. Yeah.
Definitely. And it's because I can hear now because my next question is going to be digging into something else, but it's related. I can hear the musician in you too. So anyway, I like that. It's nice. You served 20 years in the Air Force. You're a bodybuilder, a musician, and a writer. All of these require discipline. So how has that discipline influenced how you approach creativity and building these story worlds?
Well, it allows me to discipline my life. When I started bodybuilding, when I was, first started walking to the gym when I was 16 years old, I fell in love with bodybuilding because um, to shape and mold the body like it's a piece of clay, it appeals to my creative side. So that's partly why I like it. I also I'm disciplined by disciplining my life. You by eating at certain intervals throughout the day. I found that I felt better, and it made me it made me hit my goals faster in bodybuilding. So I decided to do that with other avenues of life, like if you I lead a very different disciplined life compared to a normal person. People might look at outwardly at me and like you're crazy, but I'll have a certain time of day that I'll do writing. And then I have a certain time of day that I write music, and I have a certain time of day that I'm in the studio if I'm recording that day, So I get a lot more done in a day by doing it that way, and it works better for me, you know. Also, then I have time to do things like meditation, go to the gym, take care of my body, because healthy body, healthy mind means a healthy ability to create. So you have writer's block less often. I don't say I don't never have writer's block, but if I'm
Mhm.
able to meditate, clear my mind, it helps a lot, and I get it less often than I used to, especially if I'm taking care of myself and meditating.
Yeah. So your discipline helps you to accomplish more than if you were just random every day. What am I going to do today?
Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I'm trying to get there with the podcast because, it's a different animal for me. And I'm trying to discipline myself to, structure it so that I can get more accomplished. So this is a good talk for me.
Well, it's one of those things where if someone walks up to you, okay, and says, "Hi, I'm so and so," and you are okay, what's the first thing that comes to your mind without trying? What's the first thing? If it's not, "I'm a
My name,
podcaster," okay, well, your name, and then what else? How do you describe yourself in society without thinking about it? It's automatic. What comes into your head? Okay, do you think
artist.
podcaster? Artist, okay, it's those
Yeah.
things that you identify yourself as, okay. So
Mhm.
what has to start happening is your new version of you needs to start popping up in an autonomic area in the first milliseconds. It needs to automatically, so you might not say you're a podcaster just yet, or it might not show up, but eventually will if you keep going with it. Then you identify as it, as a part of it. I'll say immediately, I'm a bodybuilder, I'm a musician, I'm a poet. I prefer poet because it describes everything I do, but it's autotomic with me, you know.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking artist just because there's a lot of things I do underneath of that because I like to sew. I like to play music. I don't have a band like you do. Hey, I like to write and I like to do the podcast. So I was just thinking of a one word kind of overarching thing to say, this is what I do.
Well, I will often say multidisciplinary creator.
Okay. I like that word too. Well, tell us about your band. I want to know a little bit about that.
Well, it's happened by accident. I had never
Mhm.
intended to be in a band. Okay, I've been playing guitar for about 6 years now. And but it was more or less to not only help make myself better. I love music. I always have, but also it helps with my rhyming, because to know music is to also know the rhyme itself. So it helps in that aspect. I want to say about a little over a year ago, I went to have a good friend named Andrea Giordani, very talented voice actress. And if you go to audible.com, you could listen to her. She has so many books on there. And she's helping me redo my Amazon's audiobook. We hired about 30 voice actors, and we got all the sound effects squared away. We were making it into a big production right now. We're still currently working on it. And as soon as everything got underway, we got all the voice actor auditions squared away and everything like that, sound effects squared away. I'm like, great, Andrea, you got this. I'm gonna go look for a band, and that's where I started looking for a band on sites like Fiverr.com, Upwork.com, and that's when I came across our lead vocalist, Lear Sather, who does all the lead vocals in
Mhm.
the band, and he brought in Max Lang and Ellis Richter into the fray, and then we did about 10 songs together, but they were as contracted help. Okay, so I was their boss. I told them what to do and that sort of thing. And then when the contract had ended, they had brought up to me the idea of putting out an album, and becoming a band. So I had never thought
Ooh.
about it before. Yeah, I had never thought about it before. So it wasn't one of those things where I had aspired to. It sort of kind of found me. I enjoy it though. It's a lot of fun, but it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, there's those times when you need to sit and just practice because you have to be
Yeah.
proficient when you
Oh,
go to
every
perform.
day,
So,
and that's
yeah.
one thing I tell people is you have to have like the guitar. You have to have the fretboard memorized blindfolded. You have to be
Mhm.
able to not look at it and know exactly where your fingers are on that fretboard. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's if a practice, you practice her out every day. If it's in your heart and you love it. If you don't love it, don't do it. Yeah, it's not for
No,
you then. If
true.
you're not passionate about it, I often tell people, like, do you ever have that like moment in time when you lost time? You realize that, like, wait a minute, 4 hours just went by. What happened? And it is probably because what you were doing, you
You
felt so
love.
passionate about, you loved it so much. And that's a sign from the universe is, wait a minute, that's what you're supposed to be doing then. It's telling you that.
Wow, that's good advice. I like that. So, yeah, the fretboard, do you play fretless or do you play with frets?
Oh, I play
You
with
don't
friends.
have
Yeah.
one of those okay, you don't have one of those ones that don't show I can't do it without that direction if I was gonna do it.
Well, yeah, I started out as a young child on the violin as well. So to transition,
Oh,
I
you have
wouldn't say it
background.
was easy, but it was more to my liking, understanding to transition from the violin to the electric guitar.
So, but a violin, is that fretless or are they the same thing? It's like,
Well, basically, you're working with a different number of strings, but the chords and the notes were transitioned easily.
okay. But the bars, I guess I call them frets, they're marked as bars and frets through, across the, violin, or is it just that you have to know where your fingers are going? You have to have muscle memory for exactly where the chords are?
Well, it's more positioning with the violin versus positioning with their fingers on the fretboard of the guitar.
Oh, okay. Wow, well, that's good background for you to have that as a child, and then music was in you from early age, so that's great. Oh, so anything else you wanna tell us about LOP or what you're doing currently, before we get started into our game?
I get a chance to tell them about the Sigma Squad. I'm working on a graphic novel called Sigma Squad. That's based off of I would say the Gnostic Gospels. Okay, they often tell tales about beings called Aeons or angels. Okay, that were split in two and then sent down to Earth for a mission. And when I came across that as I was doing a little study in theology, I thought it would make a good comic book, so I decided to use it. And I'm basically making a about 150-page graphic novel about two angels that come down and hunt the members of the deep state. And in the first issue, they're going to blow up Bohemian Grove. So it's going to be very taboo when it comes out. I guarantee it.
Yeah, it does sounds that way. So, what are the Gnostic Gospels?
Well, the Gnostics were, I'm not going to say they predate Christianity. They were a offshoot of Christianity. Okay. So they believe in Jesus and all his works and things like that. But they believed he came here different. Okay. It was to free mankind, yes, but also awaken you to yourself. Okay. So the Gnostics would tell you, don't walk into a church. God is within you. Okay. They looked at that as a trap. Okay. If you walk into that church, into that building, it's a trap. Okay. If you think about it, it's true because that building has to keep the lights on. That building has to keep the heat on. That building has to keep a certain number. So it's a business. It's
Yeah, it's a
it's not
business.
really God. It's not really God. God's within each and every one of us. And that's what the Gnostics taught is well, there basically shouldn't be money involved because God is within each and every one of us. You know, if someone were to never meet a priest, so they're it's a deserted island and they have no contact with the outer world, does that mean they can't be saved? Or is God within them as well? You have to ask yourself questions like that. And it appealed to me because there's no price of admission. You don't have to convert into this religion. It just exists and it's just there.
Oh, well, this is gonna be good. I know you gave me a sneak preview and I haven't read it all yet, but I'm excited. Oh, okay. So let's transition to our game because you got some fantastic stories as well. So for those listening, we play. This is kind of my favorite part after we get to know the guest, but I like to find out even deeper about what's happened in their life. So we asked the guest to provide us with three headlines of super interesting highlights of their life. Two are true, one's a lie, and I try to guess. So we're going to read those headlines out. Peter's already given them to me. And then I'll guess, and then he'll tell us each of those stories separately without revealing the lie until the very end. This episode is sponsored by Rebel 180, the home of brave pivots and fresh starts. Rebel 180 is all about helping you rediscover what's possible when you stop settling and start listening to that little tug inside that says, life can be different. Whether you're navigating a career shift, dreaming about a new direction, or standing at the crossroads wondering if it's time for your own 180-degree turn, Rebel 180 is a reminder you don't need permission to change your story. Sponsor, we're stepping into the world of tech. Simple Socket Print, the lightweight, blazing fast label print solution designed for those who need reliability without the bloat. With version 1.5, you get instant printing in milliseconds, fully maintained print sequence, and automatic base 64 decoding, all without needing print driver installs. If you're running SQL Server 2016 or newer, Simple Socket Print 1.5 drops right in and gets to work. Keep your workflow simple. Keep your label printing fast with Simple Socket Print. Thank you to our sponsors. All right. So number one headline you gave me. At 7 years old, Peter succumbed to heat stroke and experienced a brief NDE, near-death experience, where an angel told him that he had to go back because his job wasn't done. That's story number one. Number two, Peter invented his own unique poetic language. Well, we might have spilled the beans on that one, but we won't say. So number three, Peter is the youngest person ever to have successfully climbed Mount Everest. So let's see, out of all those, you're a bodybuilder, you are a writer and a poetic writer. So I think number two is correct. But anyway, number one, I'll guess that anyway, you don't have time for number three. So I'll just guess number three is the lie. But tell us each of those stories and then don't tell us what the lie is until the end.
Okay. Well, at 7 years old, I had passed out from heat stroke. Okay. And just as a caveat, let me say this is the early 80s. So it was normal for your parents not to be around. So I don't want anyone to think that my parents were bad parents.
You were out on one of those
well, it's one of those
kid
things where
adventures.
at those days, if you're given chores, you had to do them. So I had to mow the lawn. So I kept pushing myself. But when you're younger, you don't realize the signs and symptoms of heat stroke when they're coming on, unfortunately.
Right.
So I had passed out, and then eventually my body succumbed to heat stroke and to the heat and went to shock, and I passed. And basically, I remembered waking up over my body in what people call their light bodies. So if you think of the reverse of a black and white painting of yourself, you're made of white light and you're transparent. You can see through yourself. And I immediately realized that, okay, I came to understand, without thinking about it, is I guess I'm dead. And after my realization, I immediately started traveling up what people call the tunnel, the obligatory tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people and NDEers talk about it with the white light at the end of it. And I started traveling up it. And when I got to the end, there was an angel there that gave me a life review. And it was odd because the sense of time here in this world is very linear. You can see it transpire and go on, from second to second, minute to minute. But it was almost like during that life review, like it happened in a split second. Even though I saw everything transpire, I had an understanding of what I had done wrong, even though I was only 7. And then it was stopped. So it was very quick. It happened very, very quickly. After the life review, I was brought over to a gate that I perceived to be the gate of heaven. But there was another angel that stopped us, and he said, your job isn't done. You have to go back. And then I woke back up in my body with paramedics hovering over me and trying to figure out what was going on. So it was short, but it was life-changing. It really was.
Wow. So the angels, were they like guardian angels of yours, or just they were up there as gatekeepers?
At the time, the angel that stopped me and said, my job isn't done, I have to go back. When I looked up and saw his face, I had a feeling of deja vu, like I knew him. But to this day, I don't know who he is or what he was there for. But I had a feeling of deja vu when I saw him, like I knew him or I had known him in the past life, perhaps. Yeah.
I've heard of people that say that you meet the angels that have been watching over you your whole life. So maybe that was one of them.
Maybe.
So what were you doing out there? You were mowing the lawn, or what were you doing? Were you had no friends around, or?
Well, the next door neighbor lady was asked to look after us, but her concept of looking after us was peering out the window and then going back and watching her soaps. So it wasn't,
Oh,
it
okay.
wasn't really vigilant about it. Yeah, yeah,
That's funny. I like the way you said that because it reminds me of home. Outdoor neighbor lady. That's what I would call him too when I was a kid. So yeah, that because in I don't know what year you were growing up and but I know we used to go off and do our own thing. We'd be who
well, this
knows
would have been
where in
82.
the town. Yeah, oh, 82. So
Yeah.
yeah, 70s, we would be out doing whatever we wanted to do.
Hmm.
And we could be out in the woods somewhere and nobody was thinking about where we were. So,
Yeah, didn't care.
because
Didn't
it
care.
was
Yeah.
safe. It was, your parents kind of said, go do something, get out and get exercise. Yeah, so I could see how you'd be out there by yourself and then she saw you fall or something. And then that's how the paramedics came.
Yeah.
How long were you out? Do you know?
Well, we tried to piece it together after it happened, and there's about 3 hours there where what she said, what time that she saw found me and everything. What we're missing. There's about 3 hours of time that we're missing, but I don't think I was gone for 3 hours. But there's 3 hours missing from my memory, her memory, and from when the paramedics got
Wow. Well, I'm glad they let you come back. There's
there.
7. I know
Yeah.
that would have been a short life, but I mean, it must give you some calming feeling, that it's nothing to be scared of. Maybe I don't know.
Well, you come back with a certainty of number one, you're going to be judged. Number two, you're not afraid of death anymore because
Mhm.
you're going back to that. And the three, there's a longing to go back because there's an all-encompassing feeling of love that hits your spirit there that it's you can't describe it in mortal words. It's the best way I can describe it is like when you're a little kid and you run up to your mother and she hugs you and you know everything's going to be all right with the world.
Wow.
That's the
Mhm.
best way I can describe the way it feels, but it's 10 times more powerful than that.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, next story is about your unique poetic language. So tell us about that. We already talked about it a little bit, I guess, so we know it's true.
Yeah, I mean, I could touch on it again, but I think the audience understood that yes, I did have to invent my old language in order to write this book, The Amazons. Yeah.
Nice. And number 3, the youngest person to climb Mount Everest.
Well, okay, I'm gonna go to say that I guess I know your audience is smart. I'm not the youngest person to do it, but I did train clients when I was personal training. Okay, that they were the ones that actually had to go do it. They were the ones that had to go climb Mount Everest. And I felt
Okay.
very proud of them because they didn't make it fully; they made it halfway. But I was still very proud of them because we had to help them train to get to that point, train anaerobically without oxygen. So it's very very hard to do it. So kudos to them. And I was actually thinking about I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if I could get to that point, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll be the oldest person to do it.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of other stuff you wanna do as well, so, I mean, it'd be hard to just focus on one thing and put everything else aside, but how many months or weeks or years does it take for somebody to train for something like that? How long do you work with those people?
Well, it depends on the health of the person. Okay. So if they go
Yeah.
into it already in shape, okay, they could be ready in a year, but they have to be at a certain point. But if they're just normal average person, you're going to be training for years. I'd say at least 3 years to play it safe. Now, people go there all the time, and think, I'm good, and they'll do it, they'll hire extra people, so they'll throw money at it. Just like I'm not in the best shape, I'll hire extra people and they'll pull me up, but yeah, no, that it's just you just remember it's dangerous, and there's a lot of highly motivated, in shape people that are dead on that mount too. So yeah, it's one of the things that you don't want to mess around with. So you have to put your best foot forward when you're out there because you could die instantly. Just one misplaced step can kill you.
Hmm. So, you've already revealed, I guess, that 3 is the lie, so,
Yeah.
because you were not the youngest person and you haven't done it yet. but you're
Not
thinking
yet.
about it.
Not yet. Yeah.
Not yet. There's still much more to your life. Well, that was good because I didn't, I like to hear about number one, and I was really interested early on in your poetic language. That is just very cool. I'm going to go back and study a little bit more on that. So I know you've taken us from poetry and music and, imagination and just a virtual plethora of ideas and things that you yourself represent. So I know people are going to want to get in touch with you. So I'm going to slide down to this slide on how to contact you, which I don't have your information there for some reason. So you do have a great website called petergunn.net.
Yes. www.petergunn.net.
Okay. And they should contact you directly there. And you have a lot of resources on that site. I saw that. You've got some other podcasts as you cast.
Well, I
you've been
try to
on.
put up all my projects, current and upcoming projects on there as well, so people can know what I'm working on, what's coming out next. And then also, if they want to listen to the albums, the songs, you could go into your preferred music app or browser, because we're on 24 different sites right now. Type in the Angellics with 2 L's, and the names of the albums are Hazing Hades and Elysium Fields. Just came out on Valentine's Day, 2026. So we're really excited about it. It's doing really well in the charts.
Oh, that's wonderful. Where do you have that music? Is it on Spotify or is it on
Yes,
Apple
like
Music?
I said, it's 24 different platforms. So you name it, it's on there, guaranteed. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Wonderful. So I'm just really thankful that you came on the show, and I really appreciate all that you've offered. Do you have anything else you'd like to give to our listeners today?
Well, I would like to say to your listeners, take a look at the time you have available to you. Everyone that has a 9 to 5 job, for the most part, has a lunch hour. So if you aspire to be a writer, could you take 30 minutes of that lunch hour to start writing your book? Just take out your phone and start writing that novel that you want to get started on your phone. Because that's the way I do it. It saves time, and it can be transferred easily to your computer. So start thinking about making effective use of your time. Trust me, every little bit, baby steps help. Baby steps help.
I am going to go back. I have the actual piece of information for everybody to look at. You are on TikTok. I know you're heavy onto TikTok. And then you have your links here, and all these will be put in the show notes, and they'll be available to those that need to click on it. But in the meantime, if you're just listening, just definitely check out his site. And thank you so much for spending the time with us today. It's just been fantastic. For the listeners,
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, it was just wonderful. You're such a good speaker, as well as all the other stuff you're doing. I mean, you were really good in communicating about LLP. I love that. And I'm going to go back on that one because I don't know. I had the Sugar Hill Gang was my rapping group back in the day.
Nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with that.
And I remember the, what is it? Have you ever gone over to a friend's house to eat and the food just ain't no good? I mean, I remember trying to memorize all those words too. So I love what you said about that. It just made me laugh. But anyway, please get in touch with him here. And thank you. And I hope that as you write your next book, you'll come back on the show and tell us more about that. For the listeners, I hope you'll join next week when we have another great guest. And until then, I wish you all smooth sailing. Thanks for joining me on Project Candor, where the doors are open, the stories are unexpected, and the treasure is always real. If today's episode made you laugh or think, follow the show and share it with your crew. Otherwise, I might just make you swab the deck. I'm Jeanne Anderson, your Admiral of the Unexpected. See you on the next voyage.